Welcome back, everyone, to Business and Life Stories with Mike and James. This week, our guest is Diana Popa, who has an amazing story. We cover several things. One of them is how do you deal with your own fears and keep going? Another one is, Diana, you've had such an incredible life story. And so one of the things we wanted to hit on was, how do you retain volunteers in an organization? Because you are with the Red Cross. And of course, you've worked in HR for the Red Cross. So it's like you have to manage all these different people coming to volunteer. So, obviously nobody has to be there, right? So I want to talk about that some, but also, I understand you started out as a lawyer in Moldova. So that's quite a change from moving to Colorado. How did that happen?
So actually, I moved to United States in 2013, but I first moved to Wisconsin, United States. Previously to that, I'm not sure if you've heard, but there's this program, J1 program, which brings students from different countries to United States for the summer to work. And I used to do that while being in law school. And while doing that, I met this American family who kind of took me under their wing and helped me learn a lot. They trusted me to run their business. They had an ice cream shop. And after a few months, after the first year coming in over as a student, the second year, they trusted me to run their business. And when decided to move over, that was kind of something that made my decision easier because I had support and I had somebody who I knew is going to be there for me. So that's why I moved to Wisconsin, and that's why. Firstly, when I moved to United States, my plan was that I will make some money, I work, and then I'll apply to law school. And I'll continue my education here. The educational system in Moldova, where I'm from, it's a little bit different. So if I did 4 years of law school back home, after that I could do 2 years of internship and become a lawyer. Here you still need another 3 years to be eligible to pass the bar exam, right? So even if I'm eligible to go to the law school here, I'm not eligible to stand for the bar exam, except I think in California or Virginia. And at that time, because I had that family in Wisconsin, and that was quite the change. I was 21 years old. At that time, I felt like I'm still a baby, and I don't know so much. So it was, for sure, was a cultural shock moving here and learning so many things at once, like managing everything by myself and juggling so many things. So yeah, that was the plan, that I'll move here, I'll work for a while, I'll save some money, and then I'll apply to law school. While helping that family to manage their store, I got the offer to manage a larger restaurant. Somebody noticed me and they're like, we need somebody to manage a restaurant. So that's how I moved to managing. It was a 1 million revenue restaurant. Wasn't that big. Most of the money were made in the season, summer season. And then I think in 2016, I was like, okay, I'm done. I need to move on, and I need to try and continue my education. And while looking for universities and gathering more information on that, I got another offer. Somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn and offered me another restaurant manager position in Madison, Wisconsin, and that still is the largest restaurant in Madison, with an $11 million revenue. And I was just impressed because it was European inspired, and the food was so good, and the planning that was going into doing everything in that restaurant, and the investments. It's just, I felt like I have so much to learn from there, and I just I couldn't say no, so I just said yes, and I did that for a little bit, and then I met my husband, who was in Colorado. So after doing that for a little bit, we decided that I'll have to move to Colorado. So that's how I got to Colorado in 2018. And a funny thing is that when I was younger, I was like, I'm gonna become a lawyer and make money, and then once I'm gonna get to a point where I'm gonna be done with my lawyer career, and I'm gonna invest money in a restaurant, and I'm gonna run a restaurant, because I've always been passionate about that. But it looks like it happened the other way around. So I'm still not saying no to becoming a lawyer, but right now I'm looking more into human resources and combining like employment law and human resources. I'm also, being an immigrant myself, I mean, passionate about immigration law. So if I could combine all three of these, then that would be my dream career or job.
How did you get involved with the Red Cross?
So when I moved to Colorado, while looking for a job, but I also always wanted to give back, and I always wanted to get involved with volunteering. And once I found out that there is a Red Cross in Colorado, in Denver, I decided to apply and see where that's going to take me. And I met some great people. My supervisor from Red Cross is an amazing woman, and she actually taught me a lot, and she supported me a lot, and I've learned many things from her. And I think I would like to mention here that in our life, a major role play the people that are around us, and how they inspire us and how they support us. And we want to go to places where there are good people. You're attracted to those people, to those places, like you want to be there. And I'm somebody who is very curious, and I want to learn. And when you're surrounded by people who want to do the same, then it's just easier to grow, right? So once, of course, the first was the intention that I wanted to be part of Red Cross, and I wanted to learn, to give back. And then once you meet those people who support that and also support you in learning, then you just want to stay there. And you want to see how you can contribute. And as I said, give back.
That's really powerful. The environment of working together and helping each other and supporting it is really missing in a lot of companies. I'm glad that you have found that place. What have you learned about how to keep volunteers engaged over the long haul?
So when I started in 2018, and now things have changed a little bit. I remember in 2018, it was a little bit harder to keep volunteers engaged, because I think there's not as much structure. So let's say we had the volunteer services who will do the screening, who will do the placement, and then we'll try. A volunteer will come through the door. They'll say that we want to volunteer disaster services, and you'll connect them with the supervisor. And sometimes their connection will be lost, and that's how you lose a volunteer. So what happened is We got a more established engagement team who do only that, who does only the engagement part, onboarding and engagement, right? They take the employee from let's say we have somebody, so it's all about structure. I think in all the businesses, that's something that I've learned. When somebody does too much, then it's not as well organized. People get overwhelmed easily, and then a lot of things get lost on that road to getting to the final destination. So once I think that's something that we understood at Red Cross, or our supervisors understood, that we need more separation. So we have volunteers now who do only the screening, who only call and have an interview with the volunteers and check in with them and see what are they interested in, and then present a few teams and options where they can volunteer and see how much time they have available. And then once that's decided, then the engagement team comes in, and then we have a whole process where we first will welcome them, and then we'll make sure we'll present them all the trainings. We'll check in and see if all the trainings were done. Also, we'll make sure that they understand that there is an open door policy, or where, let's say, a lot of volunteers who are on the disaster team, there's not so many disasters that are happening every month, thanks God, right? And you may volunteer only once in 3 months. So that makes it very easy for people to get disengaged and feel like they're not contributing. So it's important in between those times to check in and offer trainings, or see if they're interested maybe to volunteer in a position where there's more consistent work. And then when there is a disaster, they will, of course, go and help in the disaster. So it's all about communication and keeping an open door policy, and always keeping in touch with our volunteers, and having also the volunteers who can do that, having that established team who will be there and check in and understand how important this is, to check in with our volunteers and care for them, as well as how we care for our clients.
So it's really important then to make sure that your volunteers, sounds a lot like the restaurant business. In the restaurant I used to work in, volunteers always need to be having something to do, at least on a regular basis, so that you're not, as you say, you're not calling them up for one thing every couple of months. So what did you find, or what can you share with business owners and people starting businesses? What are some good ideas that you learned about working with volunteers that you could apply to working with actual employees?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think this will apply in general, what I've learned, not only of working with volunteers, but also what I've learned about people in general, that we all of us want to contribute. Always, all of us wants to feel that we're doing something good, that we're doing a good job, that we're helping, that we're bringing value. So when you're starting a business, or when you are we're bringing volunteers on board, it's important to understand people and understand what's important to them, and what are their values, and how they want to contribute, and how much they want to contribute, and how that aligns with your business and with the volunteering opportunities that you have. I think I'm not sure how that's going to change in the future with all the AI and everything. But right now, and I think in the next few years, people are an important element for a business and for and Red Cross for volunteering. So I think it's important to understand them and to invest in them as well.
No,
I think that
go ahead, James.
I think that's such an important point, isn't it? And it's a point which we had a wonderful guest on called him Davide, and he does both personal and corporate coaching, and he was saying that he was sort of, the gist of the conversation was that prior to the pandemic, really coaching for employees within a corporate sense was sort of seen as a bit extra. It didn't really have any it wasn't perceived to have any true value. And he was saying that in the last year or two, there is now no question of the cost of coaching or anything else. It sort of becomes so much more important. And we've actually heard this from a number of guests, haven't we, Mike? How the value of people has really been maybe more truly recognized within the last couple of years than prior. It's, I think, in some ways, human resources, people were almost taken for granted a little bit, maybe within the corporate space. But what we've heard, haven't we, Mike, on quite a regular basis, is people have really realized, because I think we've been through so much as a society, as individuals and a society, that the importance of engagement, of valuing, of supporting employees has really become a huge priority. And that's wonderful to hear that the Red Cross is providing these opportunities of creating value, of giving value, and providing engagement for their, yeah. I'm just blown away.
It's quite a change from the way they were doing things last time I checked 20-something years ago, where it was, you would just come in, they give you a bunch of forms, they want to do a background check, and then you don't hear anything, you don't hear anything, you don't hear anything, and one day they're like, oh, can you fly to Afghanistan? Can you fly to Africa? You're like, no. Thanks for asking. Some warning would have been nice. I like this, what you're describing much better.
I think they're improving every day, because as I said, when I started in 2018, it was different than how it is now. Even back then, I can relate a little bit to what you're saying now. It wasn't like this, that, okay, you'll just do the paperwork and then we'll call you. But still, there are so many missing steps, and you will be losing volunteers. So that's why there's more engagement that's put in place right now. So, because of course it will be hard to ask somebody to fly somewhere if you didn't keep in touch with them for a few months, only because they applied for, I don't know, a few months ago to volunteer, right? So there's a lot of trainings that are available, a lot of emails that are going back and forth with offers to train. And I think that's amazing, because it provides so many opportunities to learn and grow. And I actually see many people who want to learn and who are taking, when we have to check the onboarding and to check if volunteers went through all of the required training, but usually they have much more trainings that they went through than the required, because they want to learn and they want to be helpful. And I think that's amazing. And that's something that I find, I guess it's something that I get from this, to learn that there's so many people out there that want to help, and there is so much good in the world. For me, that's helpful. And it's not only on at Red Cross or volunteering, but also LinkedIn. That's also a place where taught me that there's so many good people in the world. People who are just willing to connect and check in with you and be like, hey, there's this job opportunity if you want to apply, what are you interested in? And with right now, there's you hear so many bad news, especially, let's say, on our side, I guess. And when you're seeing that there's so many good people, it just gives you a boost of confidence, and that makes you believe that everything is going to be okay and it's going to work out. And that's important.
It is very important. I've found that positivity attracts other positive people. And of course, there's always going to be negative people that attack for stupid reasons or no reason at all. But positive people far outweigh it. So
Yes.
I am curious to get your viewpoint. You came from Moldova. You were already an adult. What are some things that you find Americans do or say that you think are just really silly or ridiculous, or just make you scratch your head and go, why do they do that?
Does it have to be business related or in general?
No, anything in general. You can pick on the English too, because James is from England, so feel free to pick on the English.
English speaking.
So I actually, I think I brought up this to my husband too. I'm like, and we both thought about the same thing. For us, it's just weird how in Wisconsin, I don't know if you know Wisconsin winters or weather, but it's really cold. And only you see a little bit of sun that comes out, and people are in shorts and t-shirts. And for us, that's just, we don't get it. We're like, how is this possible? How are you able to? Like, we understand that you just get into your car and then you get into a building, but still, I don't know. I still think it's crazy that people do that. Usually when it's so cold, we're even here in Colorado, we'll see kids going to school, and the bus stops right in the back of our house, and we'll see kids walk up to the bus stop in shorts and in a t-shirt during winter time when it's snowing, and I'm like, why? I just don't understand it. So that's a strange thing that yes, I still can wrap my head around it. So this is a funny thing. I would like to mention a good thing. The culture shock that it's for all of us who come from, I'm not sure how much from Europe, but from Eastern Europe, and it's how many nice people are here, how they're smiling and how they're willing to help. And there'll be people who will say that this is fake, that people are fake smiling at you or fake laughing at you. But I've come to learn that it's not true. And this is something that I really appreciate and love about this country. The fact that, let's say, I'll go to a store and usually I'll go in without a card. I can't. And then there'll be somebody walking next to you and be like, hey, do you want my card? I see that you have too much in your hands. And it's just so nice. It just makes everything better. And compared to our country where people are more reserved and they're not smiling as much. And I don't want this to sound as a like I'm talking bad about my country because my home country, because I respect them, the people in the country too. But I think it just tells how much the societies are different, and your background and your history and everything, how it affects you. And also your environment too. As I said, like when you are walking into a store and you see that everybody's smiling and they're willing to help you, it just makes your day, and you're a better person, and you want to continue to share the kindness and positiveness and appreciation forward.
So is there a big difference between Moldovan restaurants and American restaurants?
So it depends how you're comparing them. I feel like now our restaurants are getting better. Our food is really good. So if you go to Moldova, we are a wine country and we have really good food. The only difference is the service. I feel like here you can find better service because, and now things are changing back there too. So this is why I don't want to generalize. It used to be in the past where restaurants just did not pay attention to customer service. It was about bringing the food. You'll go into a restaurant, you'll order your food, and you'll be told, okay, 20 minutes for your drinks and an hour for your food. Goodbye. And that's it.
Wow.
And things are changing now. Of course, it depends on what kind of restaurant you're going into as well. But things are changing now. The food is becoming better. The service is becoming better. In the United States, there's always been, I think, restaurants and businesses pay attention to customer service a lot. And that makes sense because that's very important. That's something that I've learned here. When that's another, I guess, maybe strange thing or something that has changed is that when you'll come to, let's say, United States and you'll have that service, it'll be like, that's how it is, that's the norm. And people would be like, no, that's not the norm. That's not okay. And then you learn what good customer service is, and you learn how it attracts you, how you want to go into that business, how you want to return. And you learn that actually affects your revenue. And that's I guess that's something that I've learned, and that's something that at the beginning I found it strange that there was so much care when you're going into a restaurant. And but as I said, now things are changing back home too, back into Moldova, and there's more. They're putting a more accent on customer service too, and not only on the food and on the drinks.
Well, it's good to hear things are improving. So, like most Americans, I had to look up Moldova on a map when I first heard about it, sort of reading the history of the area and all that several years ago. What are some things you wish people in, I would say, North and South America, what do you wish they knew about Moldova?
So Moldova is a wine country. We have really good wine. Right now, a lot of small wineries are popping up. It's like beer in Belgium, right? I used to manage a Belgium-inspired restaurant, so we will bring all of this beers made by small breweries in Belgium, and it's the same in Moldova, it's just wine. There are all these small breweries that are popping up, and they're making really good wine. The food, I think it's really good back home back in Moldova as well. Right now, what I feel it's important to mention, and what actually put Moldova on a map, even if it's kind of sad, it's how well Moldova responded to the refugee crisis from Ukraine. We've host more refugees per capita than any other countries that are neighbors with Ukraine. And I mention that because usually that changed so much how the world sees Moldova at this time. Usually there's even jokes that people, before you'll say I'm from Moldova, and people say Maldive. And yes, and now you'll say Moldova, and they'll say, oh my God, you're the country who is helping so many refugees. You're doing such a good job. And being that we are one of the poorest countries in Europe, that's all of that is possible because the citizens of Moldova are doing it, and because they're doing it with their own money, and they're inviting refugees in their own houses, and they're giving support. From the little that they have, they're giving that support. And I think that says a lot about our people and how can we unite and help somebody that's in need.
So I know many, many people and organizations here in Texas are sending aid and help and so on. And we've had some Ukrainians coming into Austin, where I live, people housing them here. So with all the stuff in the news, and I think most people who are adults have learned that you can't necessarily believe the news, right? What's the best way for people to really help? Should they just contribute to the Red Cross? Are there other ways? You know, what's the best way to help with the Ukraine situation?
It's a very good question. And of course, the financial help is important because there are people who are losing their houses, and there's different ways to help. I would recommend people to, before they donate to an organization or to a private party, always learn about the organization themselves and see how that organization is helping and how much that organization is contributing to the cause from the donations that they get. And also, but another thing that I would like to add is I think it's important to stay informed too, and learn from different sources what's actually happening, because sometimes we may say things that might hurt than make things better. And that may come because we don't know the actual truth, or we may not know an information that's valid. So I think these are two ways: stay informed and know. And also when you know what's going on and you know what's happening and you don't choose to ignore it, because sometimes there's so much information that and so many bad news that it's hard to handle it. And it's okay to take a break, but just to make the choice to stay informed. And when you're doing that, then you'll be able to consistently help and know how to help. Exactly.
And those are excellent points. It ties back to what you said about volunteers want to feel that they're contributing. Employees in the restaurants want to feel like they're contributing. It's really true for any business. So you can even contribute on LinkedIn, right? You can partake in conversations, spread some positivity, ask questions. So we're about to close out. What advice or what things do you want to share with people who are running businesses over here or businesses in Europe? What are some lessons you've learned? What are some things you want people to know? Or what are some things that absolutely drive you crazy that you wish people wouldn't do?
I'm gonna go back to people. Maybe that's because from my experience in managing and then employees and then working with volunteers too, it's something that I've been told. At the first restaurant that I managed was the owner of the restaurant was opening in another restaurant, and we're trying to find employees for that restaurant. He's like, nobody wants to work there. They want to work with you. They want to work for you because they like working with you. So you want to create a place where people want to come in and they want to work. Then another restaurant that I managed, then the employees were telling me that I want to come into work and I enjoy coming into work. And this place become a better working environment since you came on the team and other managers. At the time when I was brought on the team, there were other managers brought on. I don't want to take all the credit because there's a team. But so what I'm trying to say is that it matters that the environment that you create for your people matters. Them wanting to come into work matters. They're gonna want to bring value. They're gonna want to give great customer service. They're gonna be loyal to you. And another thing that I want to mention is building trust with your employees too. Especially in the restaurant business, is you get a lot of shifts, if not all, when somebody will call in and you'll be short-staffed and you'll be like asking somebody from the morning shift to stay the night shift. And once you build the trust, then people want to help. They want to support you. So businesses, I think, at this point are a lot about people, are created with people. So it's important to invest in them. It's important to establish a trusting relationship with them and to learn what their values are and what's important to them. So you can create a relationship where it's give and take both ways.
Well, it's really beautiful. So we're going to close out. What is the best way for people to contact you? Should they do it on LinkedIn, or is there another place that you'd like to be reached?
At this point, yes, LinkedIn.
Okay. So I'll have that link down below the video. And folks, I encourage everybody, reach out to Diana, have some conversations. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This was fun.